happy with this mode of discussion this evening, please let us begin with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
The letter that we have decided to take is letter number 27 of Nahj al-Balagha. For those of you who have your phones with you and you want to be able to look at this, maybe you have a Nahj al-Balagha app, or maybe you can go onto Google and just type in Nahj al-Balagha letters, and you will find that this is letter number 27. It's sometimes referred to as instruction 27, but it is actually letter number 27. Nahj al-Balagha is divided into three. There are the sermons, there are the letters, and there are the maxims, meaning the statements, the aqwal of the commander of the faithful, Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. This is called Ila Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr radiyallahu anhu hina qalladahu Misr. This is a letter given to Amir al-Mu'mineen, given from Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam to his stepson Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, when he was appointed as governor of Egypt. And so what we will do is we will try to go through the first half of this discourse, the first half of the letter. It's quite lengthy, but we will try to get through the first half and try to comment on it as much as possible. My first question is, who can tell me who is Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr?
Son of He was, his mother was divorced by Abu Bakr.
Are you sure divorced?
I think.
No, this isn't quite correct, but carry on. Who is Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr?
And he was son of Abu Bakr.
Which Abu Bakr?
The first caliph.
The first caliph. So what happened to the first caliph?
I think either he died or he divorced her, but anyway, later on, Imam Ali married her.
Ahsantum. Okay, so Muhammad ibn
Rather, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain, they never called Ali as Baba. They called him as Ibn while Muhammad bin Abi Bakr always called Ali Baba.
Ahsantum. So Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, is the brother mentioned, is the son of Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr, the first caliph, the companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. After the death of Abu Bakr, Imam Ali alayhi salam married his wife, the wife of Abu Bakr, called Asma bint Umais. They had Muhammad as their son. And so Imam Ali alayhi salam married Asma bint Umais, salamullahi alayha, and so Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr is the stepson of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr is considered to be a great companion. Hence you see here the statement that Ila Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr radiyallahu anhu, that may Allah be pleased with him. Meaning that there is great affection from us towards Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. He was a great companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, worked very hard, to the extent was trusted enough to become the governor of Egypt. Egypt historically was the greatest stronghold for Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, numerically and in terms of loyalty. As you can imagine, the history of the Ummah is that it's divided into various regions, cities, localities. And of course, these all develop in accordance with their own history. Kufa, Damascus, Medina, Mecca, Misr was very strong. Historically, Yemen was very strong for Amir al-Mu'mineen, and Egypt was very strong for Amir al-Mu'mineen. Yemen, because Yemen, modern day Yemen, was converted by Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Just before the farewell Hajj, Amir al-Mu'mineen was sent after previous companions were sent. Mu'adh ibn Jabal was sent, made no headway in converting the country of Yemen to Islam. Khalid ibn Walid was sent for 6 months, managed not to convert a single person. On the day in which Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam was sent to Yemen, he converted the entire tribe of Hamdan. This is a whole series of history in itself. And if you want to read the details, all the good biographies of Amir al-Mu'mineen or Rasulullah speak about the history of the conversion of Yemen and the consequences. Because when he returned from Yemen, certain companions took a dislike to Amir al-Mu'mineen, and when the famous farewell Hajj took place and the words Man kuntu mawlahu fahadun aliyun mawla are interpreted to be friend as opposed to master, it is because of the events that happened after the conversion of Yemen to Islam. The second area is Egypt. Egypt is a stronghold for Amir al-Mu'mineen, very, very much underneath his banner, willing to fight for him. And so when you have an area that is so strong underneath you, it is important that you keep them with you, isn't it? It is important that you have a good commander, someone to guide, someone to mobilize, someone to organize. So you don't just send any random person, you send the best. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam sent his stepson, Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. If you go a few letters later to letters number 34 and 35, you also see reference to Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr about the same issues. For example, in letter 34, to Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, on coming to know that you have been replaced by Malik al-Ashtar. Famously, we know that Malik is the governor of Egypt. He replaces Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Listen to the statement. I have come to know of your anger at the posting of Al-Ash'ath in your place. But I did not do so because of any of your shortcomings on your part. But when I had taken away what was under your authority, I placed you at a position which would have been less exacting and more attractive to you. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam took Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr out of position and replaced him with Malik al-Ashtar, and says that I know you're disappointed by this, but I did this because I knew that there's a better position for you. There's something greater for you out there. This is beautiful. Sometimes we all have positions in life, don't we? Positions in family, positions in work, positions in community, positions in society. Things may be taken away from us, correct? And sometimes we get very disappointed, very angry, very frustrated. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows better than you and I what is good for us. It's maybe yesterday I was very rich and today I'm struggling financially. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows better, because it might have been that with that wealth I would have been corrupted by it. It was better for me to not have that money. It may have been that through position I will be corrupted. And so Allah took it away from me. He knows better what is for me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hadid, لِكَيْ لَا تَأْسُوا عَلَى مَا فَاتَكُمْ وَلَا تَفْرَحُوا بِمَا آتَاكُمْ. Do not become despondent at what has been taken away from you. And do not become overjoyed, exultant at what Allah has given you. The balance in the human being when you are given something, authority, health, wealth, whatever it may be. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says that I know that there is something better for you than this position as being governor of Egypt. In the next letter, number 35 of Nahj al-Balagha, he writes to Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu after Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr is martyred. We'll come to this question in a minute as to who knows how and why he was martyred. He says, now then, Egypt has been conquered. Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, may Allah have mercy upon him, has been martyred. We seek his reward from Allah. فَعِنْدَ اللَّهِ نَحْتَسِبُهُ وَلَدًا نَاصِحًا وَعَامِلًا كَادِحًا وَسَيْفًا قَاطِعًا وَزُكْنًا دَافِعًا. Look at the way in which he described his son. He says, he was a son who was a well-wisher for us, a hard worker, a sharp sword, and a bastion of defense. when someone is close to Ahlul Bayt, salamullahi alayhim ajma'een, Ahlul Bayt praise you. What a wonderful way to think of that. This has always been the way. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to praise, it is often even in Hadith Qudsi that when someone is a true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he turns to his malaika and he says, look at my servant, look at the way he's struggling for me, look at the way in which he acts on my behalf. I have thrown hard destiny in front of him. I've given him trial after trial, but look at how he is still my servant during all of this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises his servants to the angels, and Amir al-Mu'mineen and Ahl al-Bayt salamullahi alayhim ajma'een have always been praiseworthy of their great companions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about great companions in the Quran. Muhammadan Rasulullah walladhina ma'ahu ashiddahu ala al-kuffar rahama bainahum tarahum rukka'an sujjadan yabtaghuna min fadlillah. You see the whole verses after verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises the companions. So here this is a great way to see Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, and that we can rise our own self, elevate ourselves to being praised by the Imam of our time, Imam al-Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala. Can anyone remind us how Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr was killed? Who killed him? After which event? What took place? Muawiyah killed him. Ahsantum. Muawiyah killed him. How did Muawiyah's troops kill him? In which way? Very famous. Does anyone know? Ahsan. So what happened before that? They sent 4,000 members of army to attack him. He gallantly fought. Having been killed, as the sister said, they took a donkey, they killed a donkey, they opened up the stomach of the donkey, took out the insides, placed Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr into the donkey, sewed the donkey up, and burnt the donkey with Muhammad's body inside. Radiallahu anhu.
I have a question. I thought he was poisoned with honey, and Muawiyah said, sweet are the armies of honey.
That was Malik.
That was Malik, that was not Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Now, in regards to this, the first thing we see is the history of Banu Umayyah. When you look at someone like Hind, la'natullahi alayha, and what she did to Hazrat Hamza, salamullahi alayh, and then you see the way in which they treated Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, you see there is a consistency. It is not surprising what happened to Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam on the 10th of Muharram. This runs in their family. And today, when you see ISIS and the likes, and the way in which they treat Muslims, the way in which they kill, be it Christians, be it Muslims, be it people from other faiths, you can see that this is nothing more than the sunnah of the Khawarij and Banu Umayyah lasting until today. We saw in Syria only 2 years ago, maybe, about the Shia who had his heart cut out from his body, and they videotaped that man biting into the heart. This is the sunnah of Hind, to be able to do the same thing to the liver of Hazrat Hamza salamullahi alayhi. And so when we discuss with Muslims, I have sat with Muslims in London, and they have said, we can't condemn ISIS. How do you show them where they get their sunnah from? We show them here, to show them that this took place from the time of Banu Umayyah. Whose sunnah are you following? Banu Hashim or Banu Umayyah? Banu Umayyah, certainly, against Banu Hashim and the sons of Banu Hashim today. So this is important for us to see the historical trend of how these individuals did what they did. Let us go into the letter, inshaAllah, and see what Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi says. Many a time we have seen letters from the Commander of the Faithful to his governors. Sometimes he encourages, sometimes he teaches, sometimes he rebukes and has to discipline because something has occurred. So when we see these various different letters, the first thing is we want to take the generality and see how much Amir al-Mu'mineen repeats himself, to see how he is guiding. At another level, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam has to speak at the individual level to the person he is writing to. So sometimes there is a conformity, a generalization, a similarity between the letters. And sometimes it is very individual, meaning that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam knows his own governor best, and how to encourage him, how to inspire him, what he might face in his era. And so he will always have a letter to return back to. And so when we see these letters, you and I are able to see these letters of encouragement, how the requests, the requirements, the instructions of governance are. The other night when we spoke from the pulpit, we said that we are all leaders, aren't we? In our own capacity. At home, we are developing people. At school, we are developing people. At work, we are developing people. In our friend circle, we are developing people. We are leaders in our own context. And so this is a letter about good leadership, and how to engage with people in terms of leadership. Pay very strict attention to the way in which Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam teaches and encourages good leadership from this individual. He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَاخْفِضْ لَهُمْ جَنَاحَكَ. Now the translation says, behave humbly with people, but this is an inference. We might translate this in the more literal sense that says, lower your wing for people. This is a statement, this is an idiom, yes? We find this in Quran mentioned 3 times. We find, for example, in Surah Al-Hijr, chapter number 15. For example, we find in chapter number 17, Surah Al-Isra, mentioned about your parents. Lower your wing in humility to your parents. And the third is in chapter number 28. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, lower your wing in humbleness to those who follow you, those people who are obedient to you. So here we have the general statement, we have the specific statement, and we have the specific again towards those people who are followers of you. And so it's a beautiful statement about how you act with people. Look at the opening statement. Most people think that when you're a governor or whether you're a manager of a business, of course there are various styles, aren't there? There are autocratic styles of leadership. There are democratic styles of leadership. I can rule with an iron fist. What I says goes. Sorry, you don't have a say. The first statement Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says about governing a vast group of people as important as Egypt, already with him, he says, فَاخْفِضْ لَهُمْ جَنَاحَكَ. Lower your wing in humility for them. Make it that you're at ease with them, that they can come to you. وَأَلِنْ لَهُمْ جَانِبَكَ. And be lenient with people. Again, it's not harsh. It's not take a harsh tone with people. Start with people as an iron fist. It's the complete opposite. Be lenient to people. And then he says, وَابْسُطْ لَهُمْ وَجْهَكَ. Now here, this is a beautiful statement. The translation says, meet them large-heartedly. But I might translate this by saying, meet them with a smiling face. Yes? Extend your gaze to them. Make your face loving to them. You see, according to the hadith, charity is even a smile. Correct or not? When you smile at someone, it is charity. Why? Because it breaks down barriers. It creates love and reciprocation between people. They know that you're not bored. They know that you're not scornful. They know that you don't not want to be there. There is a bond that is immediately made between people. And so the first way of management, the first way to deal with people, meet them large-heartedly so that they feel comfortable with you. They're happy to be in your presence. They don't feel like they're a burden upon you or you're a burden upon them. Beautiful statement from the commander of the faithful. Then he says, وَآسِي بَيْنَهُمْ فِي اللَّحْظَةِ وَالنَّظَرِ. Beautiful statement. And move your gaze between people. Treat them equally is what the commander of the faithful wants to say. That move your face, your look between them in your tongue and in your gaze. The statement says that accord them equal treatment. Now, Amir al-Mu'mineen is going to give an explanation for why he says accord people equal treatment. We'll go to this in a minute. Imagine I'm the manager, right? And everyone here is subordinate to me or whatever, right? If I only look at this side of the half, if I only look at this half when I'm speaking only, how will this half feel? Discriminated against, neglected, ignored, yes? And so, if again I only speak to this half, then again this half would feel the same way. And so in management, Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying, the first things first, that when you deal with people, meet them large-heartedly, be humble with them, but accord everyone equal treatment. Do not discriminate against anyone. How might I discriminate? How might I discriminate? In which ways will I discriminate? I could discriminate because I have a favorite. And so if I have favorites, everybody else feels like that they won't be able to get my attention, or that I will always be biased towards one set or another. I may discriminate because I'm weak-hearted, that this person is very famous in the community, this person has a very famous, car, bank account, job, surname, and so the more I speak to him, maybe he'll like me a little bit more, maybe I'll be with the in crowd a little bit more. And so the one who does not have that fame, does not have that claim to fame, that person will not feel like they can grab my attention. Again, they feel discriminated against. And so the way in which Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam teaches us to deal with people is to be completely just with everybody. اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى. The Holy Quran says, be just. It is more proximate to taqwa, to God-centric being. So that I shouldn't look here more and I shouldn't look there more. There should be a balance in the way in which I treat people of all kinds, irrespective of the lofty status or the lowly status that one may have within the community or within the society. This brings about an equilibrium within everyone. This is important even for those people who are speakers. Because often when we go to a community, I have found is a token gesture. You know what? Yeah, we'll have the sisters only program. We'll have the sisters only Q&A. So once out of the 14 days, you just happen to, do the one-off gesture and then you can tick the box. This isn't the way it should be. You should accord everyone equal justice so that every facet of the community, the youth feel that they have got their time. The elders feel that they have got their time. The sisters feel that they have got their time. The brothers feel that they have got their time. And this runs within the just person, that they're able to accord time for everybody, irrespective of what grouping they come from within the community. Here, there is a very interesting point of management. When you go on management development courses or leadership courses, they often will teach you about the various kinds of people that you have to deal with. So for example, there is a personality type or personality test that you can do called the Myers-Briggs personality test. I would genuinely recommend everyone doing it, going onto Google and searching it, Myers-Briggs personality type test, and taking some time, but research it first so you understand the way you can unpack your personality, the way in which you can see how your personality is. It's scarily accurate, actually. It's scarily accurate. But anyway, they talk about there's 4 parts to your personality. And they say the first part is either you're an extrovert or you're an introvert. An extrovert doesn't mean that you're outgoing. No. Extrovert is a person who gains their energy from external sources. An introvert is someone who is gaining it and they are more quiet with other people. They don't like to speak as much. They would like to observe more. Yes? So for example, I'm an extrovert. Yes? I get my energy from you people. The fact that you're here, I'm happy. If you weren't here, then I wouldn't have that much energy by comparison. So the introvert is more quiet. They don't talk as much. They don't engage much. They listen. They may have the same idea as the extrovert. The extrovert in a meeting will be the one who constantly talks. You have everyone who's an extrovert, they'll all be shouting over each other, underpitting everyone else's ideas, trying to get the best out of each other, talking. The introvert will be sitting there quietly in the meeting, just listening to the dialogue. They will have the same ideas. They will want to contribute, but they will feel that, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe someone will judge my idea. Maybe I need to let them speak. Maybe they have better ideas than me. Probably the introvert has the better ideas. Now, in that kind of managerial sitting, you have so many different types of people. The manager is one who has to get the best out of everyone. Do you remember we said that what Rasulullah had to do? He had to get the best out of everyone. Jabir, a munafiq, a Christian, a Jew, you have to get the best out of everyone in Islam. That is what Islam is. In light of that, the manager realizes that sometimes you have quiet people. Sometimes you have people that will constantly talk over each other. And so once the people who are constantly talking have finished, he then stops the meeting and says, what would you like to contribute? You haven't said anything yet. Tell me what your opinion was. Do you agree with what was said earlier on? How would you change and improve that idea? Yes? Otherwise, the ideas that come from the introvert would never be heard because they're not likely to speak up. They're the ones that remain quiet. It's not that they don't have good ideas, things to contribute. They do. They probably have the best things to contribute. But we pass them by. And so they feel left out of that situation. Here, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, وَآسِي بَيْنَهُمْ فِي اللَّحْظَةِ وَالنَّظَرِ, and pass yourself between them. Look, glance between them. Give them equal treatment. Make sure you speak to everyone and get the best out of everyone through looks, through discourse, through asking everyone. Look at the way in which he teaches management skills to Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Then he qualifies. Why should you look at everyone equally? Ask everyone's opinion equally. What's the reason? حَتَّى لَا يَطْمَعَ الْعُظَمَاءُ فِي حَيْفِكَ لَهُمْ. Why? Because then the udama, the kubara, the fudala, those people who are senior, those people who are the greats within the community, those people who are powerful within the community, those people who are famous within the community, though they don't feel like they can get an injustice out of you. Because if I'm speaking only one to who's powerful, then he thinks that I'm with him. I'm in his pocket. He expects favors to be done from that person because he's powerful with them. Sorry to keep pointing at you. Just directly in my eye line. Don't take anything like this, that this is him. Yes.
I'm feeling obliged.
حتى لا يطمع العظماء في حيفك لهم, so that the great don't feel and like they can expect an injustice or favors from you. ولا ييأس الضعفاء من عدلك عليهم, and so that the weak, for the small, the less famous from amongst the community, they become despondent and despair and fear that you would not be just towards them. Can you see that? If I'm just speaking to one person, the famous from within the community, and those people who are less famous in the community will fear an injustice. And hence you bring balance in how you speak to everybody. This is so important today. Why? Because when we have government, and you've just been through an election, 2 days ago? How much lobbying is there in government?
A lot.
I'm not saying lobbying is bad, because you need to put your point of view across, don't you? You need to be heard. You need people who don't know your side of the story to hear your side of the story. But when lobbying of a politician makes him unjust, that is the problem. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam addresses this issue to Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Do not be unjust with people. Do not be the way in which you only look at the great from amongst the community, the famous, the rich, the powerful, the authoritative from within the community, lest that they feel they can get favors from you. And so those people who are the small from within the community fear that they will not get justice from you. Be fair to everybody. Listen to everybody. Sit with everybody. Partake with everybody. This is a great lesson for those people who are in government, those people who are in powerful positions at all levels, especially in community, where in community there should not be that level of injustice, where in community you're representing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see, the difference between government or secularized government here and Islamic government is one, and one only. And that is when we do things for the community, it is for the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is to establish religiosity within the community. What happens in community is when politicians become corrupt, when people become corrupt, when ulama become corrupt from within the community become despondent because they think these are the people we look to for religious leadership, religious guidance. If these people are corruptible, then who is the ones that we can turn to in the first place? And so if Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr is someone corrupted, then how will Misr take the leadership of Amir al-Mu'mineen? How will they grow in spirituality? And so the statement is beautiful here, that you shouldn't be looking equally between all types of people.
I have a question.
Please.
What if it is, in the opposite, like he is, mashallah, teaching about the management? What about the opposite, like you have a manager who has like favorites or he's biased to certain community? You know better about something, but you are seeing that he's not listening because he is biased. Even though they are not very accurate, I know what is accurate because I know much better about it, but he's not listening. It's like I've seen people trying to say something to a manager, but he's not particularly listening. He's like listening only to the favorites and applying those things, which actually those favorites are doing. So as a part of the team, like for example, if I'm the one who is trying to do the things right, which I know it will be the right thing, so and he's not listening. So
yeah, I mean, firstly, of course, the manager is a very poor manager. He's an unjust manager.
Exactly.
But the first thing is not to assume that I know better. As me, the individual, I must assume that I don't know better. Maybe that person knows better. Theoretically speaking, the manager has knowledge of what's happening underneath him and what's happening from above him in his chain management. And so he has a broader view of things. And so I would have to give the benefit of the doubt why this incident is taking place. One. Two, if I think I know better, which often we do because we can see things from a different angle, it is encouraged to go directly to that person, engage in dialogue, and demonstrate. Theoretically, if you can prove your way of thinking is correct, right, righteous, just, better, then theoretically that person should take from you what your suggestions are. Of course, this is all theoretical. If you have an unjust person or a corrupted person in management, then that person may not listen to you no matter what you say, no matter what evidence you bring.
Exactly.
Of course, it is our obligation to try to demonstrate to that person that we think that they missed an angle or a facet of discussion.
Now, what happens is I've seen it in a different team in my company that certain people knows better. It's like it's not part of me, but I've seen people who knows a particular thing better than there are other people who have been doing things incorrectly.
Yes.
It's not about me, but I've seen another team. It's not related to my work at all.
And engage in discourse, then.
Yeah, just like a packaging, like there's a department of packaging. There's a person who knows very economical packaging and everything, but they are doing what the other people like their favorites has been doing and costing more money and everything. And then there was one instance that it costed them so much that they were like scolding everyone in there. So then that person spoke that I was trying to say this, that this was the way to do it. And he was more scolded because of that. They didn't listen to him. But then he said, I was trying to say that. And they said, why didn't you enforce it to be applied? So he was like, kind of,
So we have a practical example right there.
Yeah.
ولا ييأس الضعفاء من عدلك عليهم فإن الله تعالى يسائلكم معشر عباده عن الصغيرة من الأعمالكم والكبيرة والظاهرة والمستورة. For surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you all about the smallest from your actions and the greatest from your actions, from the apparent and from the hidden. So now think about this. Why did Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam join the first series of statements. Lower your wing for them. Be humble and lenient. Smile at them. Look justly to everyone. Engage everybody in the community so that no one from the greats think that they have power and favor of you. No one from the small and the weak think that they are losing justice from you. And then Amir al-Mu'mineen says, for surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى يُسْتَائِلُكُمْ مَعْشَرَ عِبَادِهِ عَنِ الصَّغِيرَةِ مِنْ أَعْمَالِكُمْ وَالْكَبِيرَةِ وَالظَّاهِرَةِ وَالْمَسْتُورَةِ. Allah will ask you about the smallest of your actions and the greatest, the largest of your action, the apparent and the hidden of your action. What is the link here? Who can tell me? You see, beautifully, the smallest of action that we forget, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remember. It might be that when we first met each other, I judged you. Allah will take me to account for even the smallest. Might be when I first met you, we exchanged a smile, a genuine smile between each other. We hugged each other as brothers. We embraced. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not forget that action. I will never remember that action, will we? We'll never remember that handshake, that smile, that genuineness that came from the heart. He won't forget it. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take you to account and bring you for it. But the beauty of it is, He also says He will make those things brought to you. He will ask you about those things which are apparent and hidden as well. Because very interestingly, when we're managers and we have people underneath us, I may do something apparently, but what I mean inside is very different. I see my brother, Assalamu alaikum, how are you? Good to see you, how's the family? Yeah, absolutely. Inside I have scorn and hatred for you. Outside I'm smiling at you. Really, the moment your back is turned, that's when the dagger goes in. Right? How often we see that in management? How often we see that in leadership? How often we see that in business and in community? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is linking that, yes, I'm telling you to smile at people. Yes, I'm telling you to accord people equal justice. But remember, even when you do it on the apparency, I'm going to be taking account of what's happening in here when you do it as well. It's a beautiful balance between the apparent and the hidden. فَإِنْ يُعَذِّبْ فَأَنْتُمْ أَذْلَمْ. If He punishes you, it's because that you have been most unjust, most oppressive. وَإِنْ يَعْفُوا فَهُوَ أَكْرَمْ. And if He forgives, it is because He is utmost generous. You see, the beauty of this is that it gives us our own responsibility here. If I do something wrong and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishes, it's because I did something wrong. I am the one who did it. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives, it's because He is utmost generous and forgiving upon me. It's not because I am worthy of that forgiveness. I am worthy of being taken account to it. Here we remember the story of Iblis and Adam salamullahi alayhi. Why? Because if you remember in Surah Al-A'raf, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ejects both of them from the garden, the verses that they use are very interesting. Adam and Hawa, peace and blessings be upon them both, react by saying, if you do not forgive us, we will become amongst the losers. Iblis, however, in Surah Al-A'raf responds differently, and he blames Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are the one who did this to me. It's your fault I was ejected. It's your fault I'm left to be damned. I blame you. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam here says, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He decides that He is going to punish, it's because you have been the one who is utmost unjust. You did wrong. You were the one who took charge, and you were the one who decided to do wrong. If, however, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَإِن يَعْفُوا فَهُوَ أَكْرَمْ. If, however, He decides to forgive, it is because He is utmost generous. And so continuously, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam here is molding responsibility upon yourself, your leaders. Your managers, take account of your own self. Be aware of your own actions. You are utmost responsible for the things that you do in leadership. You are utmost responsible for having responsibility of other people. Allah decides to forgive you. He is generous. He is the utmost generous. وَاعْلَمُوا عِبَادَ اللَّهِ أَنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ ذَهَبُوا بِعَاجِلِ الدُّنْيَا وَآجِلِ الْآخِرَةِ. Beautiful statement and play on words here in the Arabic language, in the way in which Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam uses the word ajil and ajil. Ajala for the hastening, the quickening of something, and ajil for the delay. وَاعْلَمُوا عِبَادِ اللَّهِ وَاعْلَمُوا عِبَادَ اللَّهِ and know, O creatures, O servants of Allah, أَنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ ذَهَبُوا بِعَاجِلِ الدُّنْيَا وَآجِلِ الْآخِرَةِ. That the God-fearing have shared in the joys of this world, the transient, the very hasty joys of this world, as well as the delayed world and the beauty of the delayed of what's coming in Akhirah as well. Let us just unpack this for a second before we read the entirety of this section, and then we conclude, inshallah. Know, O servants of Allah. Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call us servants? Or why does here Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam call us servants of Allah? There are, of course, many, many different reasons, and we could go into this in terms of language and so on and so forth. As we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that He has not created us, except He's not created the jinn and the ins, illa liya'budun. He has not created us, except for servitude of Him. Now here, I just want to expand upon this, where one Mufassir said something very beautiful about the concept of servitude. Many of us here come from different countries, and we're old enough to remember sometimes you have servants working in the house, correct? For example, you may have it in East Africa or in India. You have people that come in, are servants of yours, in whatever way, employed, or they live inside the house, or they come daily and they cook and they clean, and so on and so forth. Here in the West, the way servitude, we might call it butler or something along those lines, correct? What might you call it here? Maid, hired help, something along those lines. Now, I'm just thinking differently here for a second, and follow along. Sometimes when you have a servant or a maid or a butler, generally they come to work in a certain type of uniform, don't they? Correct or no?
Yeah.
Yes? They come to work in a certain type of uniform. And the reason as to why they wear that uniform, or the reason why anyone wears a uniform, is because that is their means of identification for their job. Correct? Yes? So now the butler, the servant, comes in the house, and they may have certain things with them, and through the frock that they wear, they are identified that this is their job, that they are in this role. Their outer garments act as a means to identifying their job. In the same way, if we are going to be servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you and I are also identified. We have to have means of identification to prove that we are truly servants of the Almighty. And you see that. So for example, for the sister's perspective, we have the outer adorning of hijab. This is the proof that you are in servitude to your master. In the same way, when I go to work, I have to wear a certain uniform. I have to wear a certain dress. Why? Because this identifies me that I'm fulfilling the desired role. The master, the owner, the contractor says I am required to wear something and such. In the same way, there is an outward appearance to prove that I am in servitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the same way, the servant internally has to be the servant, has to be serving the master. Internally, when the maid, the butler, the servant goes to the house, internally they also have to be in servitude, correct or not? If they're doing it, but they don't genuinely want to do it, the level of their quality of work will go down as well. Correct or not? If they don't really want to be there, they can be very easily corrupted. that when they see that their master has left out some money or left out some jewelry or left out something, they can be very quickly corrupted, and so they take that thing because they don't really have love for the master that they're working for. And again, internally, if I want to be a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, internally I also have to be in love with what I'm doing for my Lord. Otherwise, again, I can be very easily corrupted in that same way. So here, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam used a beautiful language. وَاعْلَمُوا عِبَادَ اللَّهِ أَنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ ذَهَبُوا بِعَاجِلِ الدُّنْيَا وَآجِلِ الْآخِرَةِ. We'll read the Arabic so that everybody who knows the Arabic will appreciate the flow of what's being said, and then we read the translation, inshallah. فَشَارَكُوا أَهْلَ الدُّنْيَا فِي دُنْيَاكُمْ وَلَمْ يُشَارِكُوا أَهْلَ الدُّنْيَا فِي آخِرَتِهِمْ سَكَنَ الدُّنْيَا بِأَفْضَلِ مَا سُكِنَتْ وأكلوها بأفضل ما أكلت فحظوا من الدنيا بما حظي به المترفون وأخذوا منها ما أخذه الجبابرة المتكبرون ثم انقلبوا عنها بالزاد المبلغ والمتجر الرابح أصابوا لذة زهد الدنيا في دنياهم وَتَيَقَّنُوا أَنَّهُمْ جِيرَانُ اللَّهِ غَدًا فِي آخِرَتِهِمْ inshallah. He says, know, O creatures of Allah, that the God-fearing, the muttaqi, shares in the joys of this world, this transient, quick world, as well as the delays of the next coming world. For they have shared with the people of this world in their worldly matters. The muttaqi shares in everything in this world. They partake in this world. They don't live as the Sufi lives, where they're in a cave and separated from the realities of this world. One of the reasons a Sufi is called a Sufi is because of how they used to dress. Historically, when you go into the history of Sufism, they distinguished themselves in public in a very low, in a type of dress that distinguished them from the rest of the world. And because of this, they were called Sufi, right? Whereas in our spiritual terms, in the spirituality of Ahlul Bayt, salamullahi alayhim ajma'een, my external is also to be with the rest of the world as well. I can have a nice car. I can have a nice house. The difference is none of those things control me. I'm in control of them. That is how I'm supposed to live in this world. That there is a balance between how I live. There is a very famous hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he says that there are three things that I enjoy. For example, one of them, he says, I enjoy having a fast horse. I enjoy the smell of fragrance, and I enjoy the company of a woman, meaning his wife. Yes, he's balanced in this world. What might be an equivalent of a fast horse today?
Car.
A car. If he was here today, he wouldn't be extravagant, but it would be that he could appreciate a nice car, the beauty of what we have made today. He would appreciate a nice fragrance and how it is. He would appreciate the balances of this world. There was companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that actually said that we will not engage with our wives in the nights. And they would spend the whole days fasting, the whole nights in servitude of Allah and worship. Rasulullah rebuked them. Why do you make haram what Allah has made halal? Do you see me doing this? No. There's a time when I'm balancing my day. I have a time for my business. I have a time for my family. I have a time for my community. I have a time for my worship. Unfortunately, we have people in our community that are the opposite. They go so deep into their business that they lose their family time. There's a famous meme. Everyone knows what a meme is? Yes, you know those pictures where you have those catchphrases? Yes, they go around and circulate. There's a famous meme that came out. Father, famous businessman, whatever, very, and he's working all the time, never has time for his family. Child comes to him and says, Father, how much do you earn per hour? So the father, this is my kind of son, he's talking to you about business and, he wants to know, so he calculates it and whatever, I earn $100 an hour, whatever. And he says, here you go, I want to purchase 1 hour of your time. You don't spend time with me. You don't partake with me. You don't know about anything that I do in my life. You don't know the trials, the tribulations I go through. You're going to be there on graduation day, whoop-de-doo. Great. And what after that? Where have you been for me? We're completely balanced in the way in which
those people are called living to work.
Yes, they live to work, whereas other people
So working to live.
Working to live. Yes. So here, know, O creatures, the God-fearing, how we should be, the muttaqi. What is the aspiration of the muttaqi? They share in the joys of this world and in the next world. Why? Because they shared with the people of this world in their worldly matters, but they did not share with the people of this world in their akhirah. They balanced themselves. They partook in this world. The opposite of the muttaqi took everything from this world, but they had nothing for the akhirah. The person who is muttaqi takes from this world, but he uses it in order to create his akhirah. Listen to this next statement. It's amazing. Look at the way in which we reinterpret spirituality. Sakana dunya bi afdali ma sukinat. They lived in this world with the best of how people live, the best way of which to live. Wa akaluha bi afdali ma ukilat. They ate the best of this world that could be possibly eaten. فَحَذُوا مِنَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَا حَذِيَ بِهِ مُتْرَفُونَ. Now we have better people here of language in Arabic than I will ever be. My understanding of haddu is luck. It's good things. It's a good luck to be taken. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أَنَّهُ لَذُو حَدٍّ عَظِيمٍ. They have taken the best of this world and the goodness of all of this world. Meaning that the people of dunya, they ate from this world, they lived in this world, they partook in this world. The difference was when they ate for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas the rest of the people, they ate and they filled their stomachs, but they did it devoid of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence the distinguishing feature between the two.
Well, hadh in Arabic is luck, but hadhu means to gain.
To gain. Ahsantum, thank you. They have gained from this world. فَحَذُوا مِنَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَا حَذِيَ بِهِ الْمُتْرَفُونَ. So they have gained from this world by virtue, how can I translate mutrafun? The haughty, secure. They have secured from it. They have gained from this world by virtue of what?
The people who live extravagantly.
By virtue of what the people have lived extravagantly. Yes.
Extravagantly is
They have the extravagant people. They have gained from this world the same as what people have, the extravagant have gained from this world. And it just shows you the niyyah. You see, if you have a muttaqi and you have the extravagant, theoretically, both of them can eat the same, correct? And there's only so much they can eat. They can only fill their stomachs so much. I mean, the point comes where you just can't eat no more. But the person who ate for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he ate, he was governed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the way in which he ate was different to the one who was extravagant. The way he lived, he could have taken the best of this world. But the mutarafin, that person will, the extravagant, the way in which they live will be very in opposition. Now, I just want to give one story about this, and then we just conclude the paragraph. So he says, they lived in this world in the best of manners. They ate the choicest of foods and enjoyed therein. The people of ease of life enjoyed. They secured from it what the haughty would secure. Then they departed from this world, taking the provision which would be sufficient for them to reach. ثم انقلبوا عنها بالزاد المبلغ. It was something that reached. It was something that was sufficient, that reached to the next world. They tasted the pleasures of renouncing this world, and they firmly believed that on the coming day, on their next life, they would be neighbors of Allah. Let us just unpack this a little bit and then conclude, inshallah. Here appears to be a distinguishing feature. At one point, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, they ate the same as what the haughty ate. Yet at another point, he says that they taste the pleasure of renouncing this world. Now, if you eat the same as what the haughty eat, then it's not renunciation, is it? So it suggests to us two separate facets. One, that when they eat the same as everybody else, because you're in a public gathering, you eat with everybody else. But there is also that discipline when they're on their own, that they will also have a time when they can be disciplined and know that they can be zahid of this world. Can you see the difference between the two? There is a time when you are with everyone, you have the beauties, the fineries, if your manager allows, you have the lobsters, yes? But, yes, go to check your manager if you're allowed to eat lobster or not, right? Yes, and then there's a time when they will eat, they will balance themselves and they will become zahid, they will become people who will renounce the world as much as they can. And that will be in their privacy of their own homes. But through that pleasure of eating the food, the great food, they will come closer to Allah. Yet when they have time to renounce, they become closer to Allah. Can you see that? They're using both for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They taste the pleasures of renouncing this world. When they become people who are abstinent of this world, they are enjoying the pleasures of it. Let me give you a simple example. In that statement, when we fast, if you're not a regular faster, and Shahr Ramadan comes, when you fast, it's very difficult for you the first few days, true or not? Yes, people become very snappy, they become very tired. Someone asks you the most simplest question, go, you do it, I don't want to do it. Yes. Now, why? Obviously because we have not disciplined ourselves. But when we fast for a period of time, especially towards the end of Shahr Ramadan, we see the spirituality bursting forth from our souls, correct or not? Why? Because we become used to the renunciation. We've disciplined ourselves in what we look at, what we think about, what we eat, what we place into our stomachs, how we wake up, what time we eat, and so on and so forth. Through the renunciation, spirituality comes. Can you see that? And it's a wonder why we go back to our normal lives after Shahr Ramadan, when we realize the spirituality comes from the Shahr Ramadan. They tasted the pleasure of renouncing the world in this world, and they firmly believed on the coming day that in their next life they would be Jiranullah. وَتَيَقَّنُوا أَنَّهُمْ. They have yaqeen, they have certainty that أَنَّهُمْ جِيرَانُ اللَّهِ غَدًا فِي آخِرَتِهِمْ, that they would be neighbors with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah, this is beautiful. That they don't believe that God is a proximate other. They are immersed with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They believe that God will be proximate with them in the next world. And as an obvious extension, they believe that they will be in the presence of Ahlul Bayt, salamullahi alayhim ajma'een. That they would live in the proximity as neighbors of Rasulullah. They would live as neighbors of Ali ibn Abi Talib. They would live as neighbors of Fatima al-Zahra, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, and Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. One of our teachers, he spoke about Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli. May Allah bless him with the longest of life to serve Ahlul Bayt, salamullahi alayhi ajma'een. Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli is known as being amongst the four of Arafat, amongst the peak of those who are proximate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just to show you this beautiful explanation of how a person partakes in this world and lives in this world, but uses it as the means to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The story says, one of our teachers says that he went to visit Ayatollah Jawadi and managed to get an audience with him at his house. Ayatollah Jawadi, they were asking some questions and it came to the time of lunch. And Ayatollah Jawadi said, please stay for lunch. Now obviously you say, no, I don't want to burden you anymore. I've spent an hour with you. Ayatollah Jawadi insisted. He said, I'm not asking you out of politeness. You're coming and you're staying. You're staying for lunch. So the lunch was brought. Our teacher says that Ayatollah Jawadi had a particular way about him. Every morsel of food that he had, every time he picked up from his plate and put it to his mouth, he would say Alhamdulillah and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not just for the entirety of the meal, but every morsel that he took. You see, he lived in this world. He ate from this world. He ate like everybody else ate, but he used it as a means to the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he was so proximate to Allah, is so proximate to Allah in this world, how would he be anything other than proximate to Allah in the next world? And so this just shows us the way in which the greats bring this together. Our sixth Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq salawatullah alayhi, in that famous incident, he was sitting amongst his companions and someone came to him and said, "You cannot truly be the Imam of Ahl al-Bayt." He said, "Why?" He said, "I've read the hadith and I've heard the hadith. At the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he wore such, tattered clothes and in impoverished way. I see you wearing nice clothes and the clothes of the people. You can't be Ahl al-Bayt because the way in which Amir al-Mu'mineen dressed compared to how you dress is very different." He says, at the time of Islam then, Islam was very poor. The average person was very poor. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam lived in accordance with his time. But also as the caliph of the people, he had to live as the poorest amongst the people. Our era, yes, we have poor people, but the average, the mean of people is different. So I must also live in accordance with the way in which people live. So you see me dressed in a way in which people are. Come here. The companion leaned in. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam opened up that cloth and showed him. He said, what you see on the outside is comfort. But on the inside, he showed him that wool that would scratch against his surface, would make him itchy and was discomforting to him. What you know on the outside is very different to what you know on the inside. Existentially, I'm with everybody. Internally, I'm absolutely proximate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, constantly in remembrance of Him. It makes us think about the way in which that dry sense of piety is, as opposed to the way in which Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam describes that piety. Sixth Imam was sitting with one of his companions, someone ran to him inside the masjid and said that one of your Shia, an elderly lady, has been taken into the prisons of the Caliph. Please pray for her. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam prayed, and the next day she was taken out of the prisons. She came to him to thank, and Imam Sadiq alayhi salam asked, what was the crime that you committed when you were taken into the prison cells of the Caliph? She says, as I was walking on the streets of Medina, there was a moment when I tripped and fell. And as I fell, I landed in a way in which I hurt my chest. And at that moment, I remembered the pain of Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam, and how when the enemies of Ahl al-Bayt came to the door and attacked her. And so having remembered that, I cursed the enemy caliph who did that, and they heard me and took me into the prison cells. Another narration of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says that again he is inside the masjid, and someone, one of his companions or his servants, comes running to him and says, son of the messenger, come quickly, your house is on fire. The caliph had set his house ablaze. And so he ran back towards the house, and eventually they managed to put the fire out. Having now seen the smoldering ashes of his house, he sits down in front of it and begins to weep. He begins to cry. And as he does, someone comes to him and says, Ya ibn Rasulullah, you have never been a person who has cared for the issues of dunya. I would never think that just the caliph and the burning and the attack upon your house could make you cry. You are not a material person that having lost all of your, all these belongings, that you would have cared. He said, I do not cry for this reason. I cry now remembering what happened to my auntie Zainab bin Kulthum on the night in which the enemies attacked the tents and they set the tents ablaze. And so at every moment, we are remembering what happened to the ladies and to the children of Ahl al-Bayt. Sayyida Ruqayya enters into that prison. We hear in the Maqtal that they were forced to stay within a prison that did not have a roof, and so that when it became night and cold, it entered into that prison. When it was during the day, the heat would bombard them. But there is a line where Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam says about the 6 things that happened to us in Sham that did not happen to us elsewhere. He says the prison that we were kept in was an open prison to the extent that we heard the wild beasts surrounding the prison at night and howling and hooting in such a way that we feared that the beasts would come and enter into the prison and maul us. This is the way in which Ahl al-Bayt salamullahi alayhim ajma'een were kept in those days of Sham. Ala la'natullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimin. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وقاتلا في سبيلك فوفق لنا وصالح الدعاء والمسألة فاستجب لنا وإذا جمعت الأولين والآخرين يوم القيامة فارحمنا وبراءة من النار فاكتب لنا. معتم الحسين يا حسين
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.